Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Lindert, and I'm one of those success stories that quit smoking with hypnosis. And that's why I believe in it so much, because I know it works. I personally have experienced hypnosis for stop smoking. Years ago, long time ago, when my husband and I were engaged, he said to me he wasn't going to marry me because his father had died of leukemia and I was a smoker. At the time, I was a pack a day, Marlboro Lights or Marlboro. It depended on what was available. And at that time, I was in the mortgage industry. And prior to that, I was with being a stockbroker. I worked for Merrill Lynch, and I was an assistant, and then I became a stockbroker. Then I decided I didn't like being a stockbroker, and I went into mortgage banking, and I did second mortgages, and then I did first mortgages. So I've always been in working with money. When you work with money, people smoked, especially in 1987. So I remember thinking, all right, Tim, cigarettes. Tim is my now husband. Tim, cigarettes, Tim, cigarettes. And at that time, they didn't have all of these. They didn't have vapes. I'll tell you that much. They didn't have Chantix or Wellbutrin. It was either cold turkey, plastic cigarettes that you would smoke, and they were so hard that people would like crunch on them and break them and throw them away. Or what else was there? Trying to remember. I think that was it. And hypnosis, cold turkey, plastic cigarettes, and hypnosis. So it wasn't even like there were a lot of hypnotists around. And so I went into, I think at the time, it was either Borders or it was some kind of a bookstore. And I saw a CD. I'm sorry, it was a cassette. This was in 1987. It was a cassette. And it said, "Stop smoking subliminally." And I was like, what's that? And I looked it up, and it was using the power of the subconscious mind. And when I read the inside jacket, it said it was using hypnosis. Use it while you go to sleep. So I would listen to it as I was going to sleep, and I listened to it for 3 days, 3 evenings. And then I wasn't smoking. Like, I didn't even miss it. Now, you have to know the obstacles that I was overcoming, because about 70% of the people smoked. Majority of them had on their desks ashtray, their cigarettes, and their lighter, or their Bic. Everybody had a Bic, or the matches. And if you ran out of cigarette, you knew who smoked what kind, whether it was Parliament, Marlboro, Marlboro Lights, Camels with no filters. That everybody was like, ooh, they smoke Camels. There's no filters. Okay. And you would walk in and you would see everybody smoking. Not only that, I smoked with coffee, which was like a water fountain. I mean, it was constantly coffee. You would smoke at your desk, on the phone, with a cup of coffee, going out for drinks. We would go out for drinks because I was young. And we would go out for drinks on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then my husband and I would go out on Saturday. You know, so it was constantly, and even in the restaurants, the bars, everybody smoked. It was unusual to say, may I sit in a non-smoking area? Or I don't want to be around the cigarette smoke. Nobody said it because everybody smoked. So I listened to the recordings for the 3 days, and I didn't smoke. And I remember thinking I really needed something that was going to help me overcome all of these habits or triggers that I had when I would have a cigarette in the car with a cup of coffee. When I needed a break, I would just go and have a cigarette. Or sometimes I would pick myself up and be like, oh, I don't have any cigarettes. Meanwhile, I would be hiding a cigarette in my hand. And I'd walk over and I would chit-chat to somebody else and have a cigarette. So it was all of these things that I had to overcome with alcohol, my smoking buddies, all of these things. And the hypnosis did it because it covered everything, not only physically making the cigarettes really, really gross, which I'm very good at, by the way. But it covered it emotionally. It made it so it was, I didn't need it. Like, it was disgusting. But I also was strong enough to know in my mind and in my body that was not going to be a part of me anymore. So after 3 days, I was done. People were amazed. In fact, so much so that people were like, well, if she can do it, I can do it. I remember about 2 weeks later, we went out to, at the time it was Bennigan's, and that's where we would always go, like on a Wednesday or Thursday night, and we would, everybody was smoking at the bar, and I was a gin and tonic girl, had my gin and tonic, and I remember my girlfriend was lighting up. I'm like, oh, you know, shouldn't I see if it works? And I grabbed the cigarette. I didn't even put it in my mouth. Touching the cigarette, the thought of it going in my mouth to take a puff made me so nauseous that I thought I was going to throw up right then and there. I had to leave the bar. And for weeks later, I couldn't go into Bennigan's, true story, because I was like, oh, just the smell of the smoke after that. It triggered whatever he had put in the recording, that if you go to have a cigarette, you're going to get, you know, violently ill. So that's why it's so cool, because when you really don't want something, but you don't know how to get rid of it, hypnosis is pretty powerful, because you already don't want to smoke. You already come up with excuses on why you smoke. And we get rid of those excuses in the car with a cup of coffee, you know, getting a break, where else? Having cocktails, dinner, after a meal, all of those things, all of those triggers with smoking buddies. You don't need that. So I'm a non-smoker because of hypnosis, and I know it works. And now I'm going to, if you allow me, help you to be a non-smoker. You don't need to see me in person. You truly don't. You just need to believe that it's going to work. You listen to the recordings, and that's it. Makes it really gross. We change the behaviors, and then you're done. So take it from me. I haven't had a cigarette since April 2nd, 1987. That's over 30 years. My lungs are good. They're clean. I feel great. And I guarantee you, I will never smoke because they're just gross. So if you want more information, click on the buttons below and you'll get some. But just know that I quit smoking with hypnosis, and I am a success. Thanks. I'll see you soon.